One monumental prisoner swap, two very different receptions. As the euphoria and excitement settles following Saturday's exchange between Ukraine and Russia, let's now compare how the 35 captives from each side were welcomed on their arrivals. First, in Ukraine.
We have to do all the steps to finish this horrible war.
The 24 Ukrainian sailors and 11 political prisoners were hailed as heroes at Kyiv's Borispol airport. Among them, filmmaker Oleg Sentsov, who was illegally imprisoned for more than 5 years.
The victory will be ours. We have no other choice. Glory to Ukraine.
Then there's Volodymyr Baluk, who was sentenced effectively for putting a Ukrainian flag on his property in occupied Crimea. The list of injustices goes on. Then there was Russia. The 35 criminals, traitors and Russian collaborators who flew from Kyiv to Moscow's Vnukovo airport were welcomed by, well, no one, apart from the security service agents, propagandist Dmitry Kiselev and several other faces from Kremlin-loyal television. Ukrainian national Volodymyr Tsemak, a key witness and suspect in the shooting down of flight MH17 back in 2014, quickly disembarked carrying his bags. Now it's likely the Kremlin threatened to sabotage the entire swap if their demands of his return weren't fulfilled. Now, the problem is, if Vladimir Putin publicly greeted Tsemak, that would be interpreted automatically as Russian admission of guilt, and not just for the military's role in the MH17 disaster, but of the war altogether. Tsemak's testimonies at future international court hearings may have been key in bringing the MH17 perpetrators to justice. Meanwhile, Saturday night state TV news mainly concentrated on the release of Kirill Vishnitsky, the chief editor of RIA Novosti Ukraine, without handing much coverage to any of the other 34. By the way, Ukrainian Deputy Prosecutor General Anatoly Mateos said 13 Ukrainians charged with terrorism, treason or defection were also on that plane. So Twitter posts like this one mentioning 35 Russians are in fact incorrect. A reporter outside the government terminal said it felt like a special operation under the veil of secrecy. However, it's important to remember the Russian authorities used all the Ukrainian prisoners as bargaining chips to try and extort concessions in a war which has been controlled and coordinated from Moscow from the start. We should also remember that dozens of Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars remain illegally held behind bars, as well as, of course, at least 200 captured Ukrainian soldiers in occupied territory. For Zelensky, the prisoner exchange is likely to increase his popularity both domestically and internationally. However, the president has to carefully find the balance between securing the release of hostages and a lasting ceasefire, while not surrendering Ukraine's national security interests or bowing down to the Kremlin's demands. For now, though, we could just celebrate the fact that 35 innocent political prisoners and sailors are safely back in Ukraine after suffering behind bars in Russia. And that, in itself, is a small victory.